So hi everyone, I'm gonna wait for everyone to sort of come in and then we'll get started. Right, brilliant. Okay, so welcome to the half-term lessons on MyTutor, the online school. I'm sure some of you attended this morning's session, and this session is going to be very similar. So every day this week, we're going to have a math session at 12 o'clock, and it will be based on algebra topics. So today's topic will be algebraic expressions and formulae. My name's Evelyn. If you have any questions throughout the session, make sure to either message me in the chat or in the Q&A. I'll be looking at those throughout the lesson. Also, this session will be recorded and it will be on YouTube, and it will probably upload the next day. So have a look out for it tomorrow if you did want to watch over the session again. And yeah, let's get started. So what we'll be doing today is algebraic expressions and formulae. So we'll be simplifying algebraic expressions, expanding brackets, and rearranging formulae. So let's have a look at the next part. Right, so algebraic expressions, all of you have seen some form of algebraic expression. Now, a term is a number or letter on its own. So like say 5n or 0.7x, those are all terms. But an expression is a collection of terms. So something like 4x plus 5y or 9n minus 12.5m. Anything where you're adding or subtracting terms together, it's called an expression. So at the bottom, I've sort of got like a mini quiz for you guys. I'd like you guys to answer it in either the chat, well, actually answer it in the chat, not the Q&A. What do you think, which ones do you think are expressions? Which ones do you think are terms? So brilliant. We've got quite a number of answers. Yeah, perfect. Someone has asked, is this higher? So the way how I've sort of structured this is for both higher and foundation. There's nothing here that's specific to one or the other exam. So it's perfect for all level students. Cool, right, let's go through it. So the first one is a term. So well done everyone who said is a 5x squared is a term. B is an expression because it's two terms being subtracted from, it's one term being subtracted from the other. C is a term and D is an expression. Perfect. So now simplifying expressions. Now, algebraic terms that have the same letter are called like terms. Yeah, but we can only add or subtract like terms. So when like terms are added or subtracted, we call it simplifying or collecting like terms. So things like 25x minus 708x and 4 over 5x, those are like terms because they all have an x. Whereas 20t, 6n, and 2.58, those aren't like terms because they have different letters. So if we have a look at some example questions, so I'll do the first one with you. If we were to simplify 3x plus 2y minus 3x plus 4y, then we look for the like terms. So we've got a 3x here and another minus 3x here. Those are the only x's in our expression. So 3x minus 3x, it's just like saying 3 minus 3, that's 0. So we don't have any more x's left. We subtracted all of them. But the other ones, we still have y's. So we've got 2y plus 4y. So 2 plus 4 is 6. So our answer would be 6y. So if we have a look at the next one as well, we've got 4y squared plus 5y minus 3y squared minus 4y. Now, be very careful with terms that include powers. If a term includes a power, it's different from a term without one. So y squared is not a like term to y. So we can't add 4y squared and 5y and simplify it. There's no way of simplifying it. So we have to look for all the y squareds first. So we've got 4y squared minus 3y squared. Now 4 minus 3 is 1. So we've got 1y squared. And then we can then simplify the y's. So we've got 5y minus 4y. So 5y minus 4y, 5 minus 4 is 1. So we've got plus y. So that would be our final answer for that one. Now, what I'd like you guys to do is try the last one. Try simplifying the last example question. What should you get? Right, someone's asked, are we going to do Kahoot at the end? Yes, we are. We are definitely going to do a Kahoot quiz at the end. So that's something to look forward to. Brilliant. Perfect. So you don't need to turn your cameras off, by the way. Someone did ask that. That's okay. Someone asked, does this cover the AQA board as well? So I based this on the Edexcel specification, but majority of the stuff in this session will be in the AQA. If there's anything in particular, I'll make sure to, if there's anything that's not in there, I'll make sure to tell you. But so far, everything that we are going to cover is in the AQA board as well. Right, let's go through it. So we've got 3 different types of like terms in this one. So we've got numbers, we've got x squares, and we've got x's. So we've got numbers, which is 5 and minus 3. We know 5 minus 3 is 2. The next one, if we look at the x squares, we've got 4x squared and we've got 1x squared. So 4 plus 1 is 5. So we've got 5x squared. And then the last one, we've got x's. So we've got 2x and minus 4x. So 2 minus 4 is minus 2x. Now, it doesn't matter if you wrote 5x squared plus 2 minus 2x, or if you wrote them in different orders. As long as you got the correct signs for each of the terms, you would get the question correct. So perfect. Well done, everyone. Now, multiplying terms is a little bit different. So when you multiply letters, you can either have the same letter, so you could do a times a, which is a squared, or you can multiply different letters together as well. Now in algebra, if you do a times b, you just write them next to each other without the multiply sign. Now if you say ab, it's the same as saying ba. The order of the letters, it doesn't matter. As long as they're next to each other, then we know that we're multiplying them together. So 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 2. Yeah, but in algebra, usually what we do is we write it in alphabetical order. So even though BA isn't wrong, it's better to write as AB, to write your letters in alphabetical order. Now, one important thing to note is this. When you multiply with different powers, when you multiply x with different powers, you can add the powers together. So x squared multiplied by x to the power of 7 is the same as x to the power of 2 plus 7. So that's x to the power of 9. Yeah. So if we have a look at some of these ones down here, we've got 2. If you multiply with numbers in front of them as well, you can multiply the numbers first and then the letter. So this is the same as saying 2 times 3 times x. Now 2 times 3 is 6. And if we do 6 times x, we can just write 6x, because in algebra, you don't have to write the multiply sign in between. Now, if we have a look at 4x times 5x, we've got 4 times x times 5 times x. Now, if we multiply the numbers first, 4 times 5 is 20. And then we've got an x times x. Now, x times x is x squared. So we've got 20x squared. So we'll have a look at some example questions for this as well. So let's do the first one together. So simplify p to the power of 4 times p squared. Now, if we use the same rule that I was talking about in the previous slide, we can add the powers together because they're the same letter. We can only add powers if they're the same letter. Yeah, so we've got p to the power of 4 times p to the power of 2. So that's same as saying p to the power of 4 plus 2. So that should give us p to the power of 6. So what I would like you guys to do is to try the second example question. Okay, so someone asked what we'll be doing tomorrow. Tomorrow we will be looking at linear equations and simultaneous equations. Someone else asked, is today just simplifying? Today isn't just simplifying. We're going to have a look at factorizing as well and some other important parts of algebraic expressions. And one important question, someone asked, is x6 the same as 6x? It's not. If you are multiplying numbers and letters, you have to make sure the number comes first. The only time where it doesn't matter which one comes first is if you're using letters. So AB is the same as BA, but 3x, you can't write x3, you have to write 3x. Right, let's have a look at this one. So, and we've got a range of answers for this one. So we've got 2p times 3p to the power of 3. Now, if we multiply the numbers first, 2 times 3 is 6. Then we have to multiply p and p cubed. So p times p cubed. Now, p sort of has like an invisible 1 as its power. Yeah, so we're going to do 1 plus 3. That will be p to the power of 4. So that's one thing to remember. So if you have, like, say, a or p or x, this is the same as saying p to the power of 1. It's just when we write it down in algebra, we don't write the 1. Just like when we're multiplying with 1, we don't say 1p, we just say p. Yeah, so hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. Now, moving past simplifying and multiplying letters, we're now going to move on to expanding brackets. Now, when expanding expressions in brackets, make sure that everything inside the bracket is multiplied by everything outside of the bracket. So if we have a look at the first one, we have to multiply the 4 with everything inside of that bracket. So we're going to do 4 times x, and then we're going to do 4 times minus 3. So 4 times x is just 4x, and then 4 times minus 3 is just minus 12. So that would be us expanding the brackets. Now have a go at the second one. What do you think the second one should be? Someone asked, how likely is it that you would get algebra in your exam? It is 100% likely. Algebra always comes up. It's a really important topic, so it's really important to understand it. There will never be an exam, a maths exam, where algebra will not come up. So do make sure that you understand it. Right. Right. Someone else asked what's the best way to revise maths? Do loads of practice questions, and not only just do loads of practice questions, make sure that you understand what you're doing as well. It's all good and well, you know how to answer one particular question, but make sure that you know how to answer a range of them. Right, let's go through this. So we've got 3p multiplied by p minus 5. So we have to multiply 3p with everything inside the bracket. So we've got 3p times p. Now 3p times p is 3p squared. And then 3p times minus 5 is minus 15p, because we do 3 times minus 5, which is minus 15, and times the p. So well done, everyone who got that one correct as well. Now, sometimes, and it's very common for this to actually come up, is to expand and simplify your answer. So the previous questions that we went through were sort of like simple expanding questions. Sometimes you can get harder ones as well. So if we go through the first one, so we've got 4p plus 2 and then 3 plus 3p times 2p minus 3. So we're going to do just like everything that we just did before, and then we're going to simplify it all at the end. So the first things first, we do 4 times p and then 4 times 2. So we're going to expand the first bracket. Now that's 4 times p is 4p, and then 4 times 2 is 8. And then we've got 3p times 2p, and then 3p times minus 3. So 3p times 2p is 6p squared, because 3 times 2 is 6, and p times p is p squared. And then 3p times minus 3, well, 3 times minus 3 is minus 9, and then times p. So now we've got a new expression, and that we've gotten from expanding the brackets, but it says expand and simplify. So there's still one more step. Now, to simplify this, we need to find like terms and then add them together. Now, we've only got one number. There's no other numbers, so we can't really simplify this number. We've only got 1p squared as well, so we can't simplify that anymore. But we do have 2 terms with a p in it, so we can simplify this. Now 4p minus 9p, or 4 minus 9 is minus 5. So we've got minus 5p. Then we can just add on the remaining terms that we couldn't simplify. And that would be our final answer. That would be our expression expanded with brackets and then simplified at the end as well. Now, what I'd like you guys to do is I would like you to have a go at the second one. This one is a little bit trickier. Make sure that you multiply everything outside the brackets with everything inside the brackets. So you're really multiplying each of the brackets together. What do you think you should get for this answer? Okay, getting quite a few good answers. Cool. Okay, what I would say is, guys, if you keep your answers in the chat and then your questions in the Q&A, it will be easier for me to see the questions and the answers properly. Right, cool. Getting some good answers here. Right, no problem. We're going to go through it in a second. Right, let's have a look. So we've got quite a number of this one. This is quite a popular question as well in your GCSE. So to do this one, we need to multiply the terms in the left bracket with all the terms in the right bracket. So we're going to do p times 3p and then p times minus 2. And once we've done that, then we are going to do minus 3 times 3p, and then minus 3 times minus 2. And then we're going to simplify it afterwards. So let's do the darker blue parts first. So p times 3p, we get 3p squared. And then p times minus 2 is minus 2p. So that's our first part done. The second part is the lighter blue ones. So we've got minus 3 times 3p. So minus 3 times 3 is minus 9, and then times by p. And then we've got minus 3 times minus 2. Now, a minus times a minus makes a positive. So that will be 6. Yeah. And then, now that we've got our new expression, the last thing to do is to simplify it. Now, we've only got one term with a p squared in it, so we can't really simplify that any further, but we've got two terms with a p. So minus 2p minus 9p. Now minus 2 minus 9 is minus 11. So we've got minus 11p, and then we've got a plus 6 at the end. There's no other numbers, so we can't simplify that any further. And this would be our final answer. So I saw that a couple of you did get that one. Well done. Hopefully it makes a lot more sense. Right. Let's move on. So factorizing. So factorizing is the opposite of expanding brackets. So instead of multiplying out your brackets, now you're going to take an expression and put it back into brackets. So the best way to do this is to find the highest common factor and take this outside of the brackets and then leave whatever is remaining inside of it. So let's have a go at this one. So we've got 6x plus 18. Now, if we look at 6x and we look at 18, we need to find the highest common factor between the two of them. So all that means is finding a number that can go into both of those terms, yeah? So 6 can go into 6x. We can divide 6x by 6. Same thing with 18. That would be our highest common factor. So we can put 6 on the outside. Now, if we do 6x divided by 6, we're just left with x. And then we want to do 18 divided by 6, which is 3. So we add 3, and that would be us putting the expression into brackets, so factorizing it. Now, when you do factorize, the best way of checking your answer is expanding the brackets. So if I do this in orange quickly, if I expand the brackets, hopefully I should get the same expression. If I don't, then I know that I factorized it wrong. So 6 times x and then 6 times 3. So 6 times x is 6x and 6 times 3 is 18. So we factorized it correctly. Now, sometimes it's hard to find the highest common factor. So another way that you could do it is just keep finding factors in the terms and then taking it outside of the bracket. So let me show you what that could look like. Now, if we didn't know that the highest common factor of 6x and 18 was 6, what we could do is check, are they even numbers? If they are, then we know that 2 goes into both numbers. Now 6 is an even number, so is 18. So we can put 2 on the outside, and then what is each of those divided by 2? So 6x divided by 2 is 3x. And then 18 divided by 2 is 9. So that would be us factorizing it. But this isn't factorized fully because we still have a factor that goes into both 3x and 9. 3 goes into 3 and 3 goes into 9. So we can take that outside the brackets as well. Now 3 times 2, if we take it outside the bracket, we have to multiply it with whatever's in front of it already. So 3 times 2 is 6. And if we do the terms that are inside of the bracket by 3, 3x divided by 3 is x. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So we still end up at the same answer. It doesn't matter whether you decide to take some factors and you keep doing it until you can't anymore, or you just decide to take the highest common factor straight away. As long as you fully factorize it, which means that there are no terms in here which have a number that goes into both of them, then you fully factorized it. So what I would like you guys to do is, we'll go through the first one together, but I'd like you guys to try the last two. So let's get this up. So 24w plus 20x. Now, what I can do is I can do the second method that we went through, yeah? We can see, are they even numbers? Yes, they are. So 24 divided by 2 is 12. And I'm going to put 2 on the outside because that's the factor that we're taking out. So that will be 12w. And then 20x divided by 2 is 10. So we've got 10x. Now, these two are still even numbers, so we can continue to take out 2. If we take out 2 again, you have to multiply that 2 with the 2 in front of the bracket. So that's 4. 2 times 2 is 4. 12w divided by 2 is 6, so we're left with 6w. And then 10x divided by 2 is 5, so we're left with 5x. Now, there's no other numbers that go into both 6 and into 5. So we fully factorized it, and this would be our final answer. Now, again, make sure that you check your answers. So to check it, you just expand the bracket. So you do 4 times 6w and 4 times 5x. Now 4 times 6 is 24, so we get 24w, and 4 times 5 is 20, so you get 20x. So we factorized it correctly. So what I'd like you guys to do is try the last two, and then we will go through it afterwards. So someone made a really good point. When expanding brackets, they said use the acronym FOIL. So that's first, outer, inner, and last. So if you've heard of that before, that probably jog your memory with how to answer expanding brackets questions. Brilliant. So I'm seeing some really good answers here. Someone asked, you always need to factorize fully if the question doesn't ask for you to. I would say yes, definitely factorize. If they ask you to factorize, always factorize fully, just because if there is some sort of doubt, at least you won't lose any marks. If you don't factorize fully, even though they don't ask you to, you might still lose marks depending on what the mark scheme what the answers in the mark scheme is. So I would say always factorize fully just to stay safe and to make sure you get all the marks. Someone asked, do they have to be whole numbers? Yes, they do have to be whole numbers. And when you're factorizing, always look for whole numbers which go into the numbers, because it will make your life a whole lot easier. If they're not whole numbers, then it will get really confusing. Right. Good, brilliant. Perfect. Right, let's go through them. So I've written a little note up here, which is saying that letters can be factors as well. So if both of the terms have a letter in common as well, you can take that outside the bracket. So let's have a look at this one here. So 15x squared minus 35x. Now, the first thing I can see is they're both multiples of 5. So I can take 5 outside the bracket, and then I can divide each term by 5. So 15 divided by 5 is 3, so we're left with 3x squared in the bracket. And then 35 divided by 5 is 7, so we're left with minus 7x in the bracket. Now, another thing that I can see inside of this bracket is that both of these terms have an x, so they both have the letter x in common, so I can take that outside of the bracket as well. Now remember, if I take it outside of the bracket, I have to multiply it with whatever's in front of the bracket. So you've got 5x. Now I need to divide each term inside of the brackets by x. So we've got 3x squared divided by x is just 3x. And then minus 7x divided by x is minus 7. And then there's no other numbers or letters that go into both 3x and minus 7. So we're done. And then remember to check, you expand the brackets. So if you expand the brackets, you should realize that we get 15x squared minus 35x. So 5x times 3x is 15x squared. And then 5x times minus 7 is minus 35x. So that one's correct. Let's have a look at the last one. Now we've got 9y squared minus 12xy. Now 3 goes into both of these numbers. So we can take 3 on the outside. And what you can also do each step at once as well. So if you realize that, okay, y is in both of these numbers as well, or terms, sorry, then you can take that outside of the brackets. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. And then the y squared divided by y is y. So we've got 3y on the inside. And then 12 or minus 12 divided by 3 is minus 4. And then you've got your xy divided by y is just going to be left with x. Now, remember, check your answer. 3y times 3y, 3 times 3 is 9, y times y is y squared. And then 3y times minus 4x. So 3 times minus 4 is minus 12, and then x times y is xy. So that one's correct as well. So remember, when you're factorizing, it's really easy to figure out whether you've gone wrong or not, just by expanding the brackets. If it doesn't expand to the correct expression, then go back and try again. Right, so let's have a look at the next part. Now, in algebra, you can also have equations and formulae. So an equation usually has one variable and is only true for certain values and has 2 expressions either side of an equal sign. So here we've got 2x minus 1 equals 5. So you've got 2 things either side of the equal sign. So an equation always has to have an equal sign. Also, it has one variable x. Now, what I mean by it's only true for certain values is x has to be 3. 2 times 3 is 6, and then minus 1 is 5. If x was 100, 2x minus 1 wouldn't equal 5. Yeah, so this equation is only true when x equals 3, and that's why we can solve equations. But formulae is a little bit different. A formula has 2 or more variables and is always true. So an example of a formula that you've already seen is the area of a rectangle, base times height. Yeah. Now it's always true. No matter what rectangle it is, the area is always base times height. You don't have to have particular values for that to be true. And that's why we call it a formula. So a way to spot a formula is usually with quite a lot of letters, so A equals BH, but an equation is usually with one letter and a bunch of numbers. So that's a good way to spot an equation from a formula. Now, substitution. You can substitute with formulae and with equations. It's usually with formulae, to be fair. So sometimes a formula is given to you and you have to calculate an answer when some values are given to you. So to substitute, all you need to do is replace the letter with the value and then follow through with calculation. So the formula for force is F equals ma. And what is the force when m equals 20 and a equals 2.5? So I'd like you guys to try that one. All you have to do is replace the letters with the numbers. So if F equals m times a and m is 20, a is 2.5, what is F? Have a go at that. So someone asked about factorizing. Does it matter what method you use? No, it doesn't matter what method you use. With factorizing questions, they usually give you full marks if you get the correct answer. So they don't, unless you don't get the correct answer, then they look at your method to see where you went wrong. But remember, always check your answer, because you can always just expand the brackets and then you can see whether it's right. So it doesn't really matter which method you use. You can use any one. If you did miss some of the session, by the way, guys, it is being recorded, so you can watch it on YouTube. So I think it will be uploaded by tomorrow. So have a look out for it, so you can just watch back anything that you have missed. Yes, we will be going through quite a few topics which are a bit harder than this. We're going to go through simultaneous equations tomorrow as well, which is quite a lot harder than this, and solving quadratic equations, linear equations. But you can see all of the list of the topics that we'll be going through on the website, on the web page. And then at the end as well, I know a lot of you have been asking about revision questions. I haven't been ignoring you. Some of the revision questions that you have will be covered on Friday. We'll go through exam techniques, and I'll try and take into account revision techniques as well for you when revising for GCSE exams. So make sure to come on Friday as well. Right, so let's have a look at this one. So all we're doing is replacing a letter with numbers. So F equals, now if we have M times A, we're just going to say 20 times 2.5, and then we're going to calculate it. So 20 times 2.5 is 50. And that would be your answer. That's how we substitute. So if we have a look at, if we have a look at some example questions, let's do the first one together. So P equals 3n, so that's the same as 3 times n. N equals 21, work out the value of P. Now P equals 3 times n. If n is 21, it's just going to be 3 times 21. We're literally just replacing the letter with the number, and then we're going to calculate what it is. So 3 times 21 is 63. Yeah, and then if you guys have a go at the last one, what do you think 4n minus 11d is going to be? N is 12, d is 4. Work out the value. So have a go at that. That one shouldn't take too long. Brilliant. Seeing a lot of good answers there. Right, perfect. Let's have a go at it. So y equals 4n minus 11d. Now, n is 12, so we can do 4 times 12 first. And I'm going to put this in brackets just to make sure that we do 4 times 12 first before we start subtracting the other side. And then I'm going to put 11d in brackets as well. So d was 4, so it's just going to be 11 times 4. Now, remember bid maths, guys. So multiplication comes first before subtraction. So we have to multiply these numbers before we subtract them. So 4 times 12 is 48. And then 11 times 4 is 44. And then 48 minus 44 is 4. So brilliant for everyone who got that one correct. Now, rearranging formulae is very similar to solving equations. Now, we also regard rearranging as changing the subject of an equation as well. So changing the subject or making something the subject of an equation just means that you make the letter by itself on one side of the equal sign and everything else is on the other side. So to do that, we're going to use inverse operations. So let's go through these ones. So I want to make W the subject. So I want to have W equals something on the right hand side, sorry. So let's try and move the different things which are already on the same side as W onto the other side. So we can move this minus A. Now we need to do the inverse operation. So if we're subtracting A on one side, to get rid of it, we have to do the opposite of subtracting, which is adding. And we have to do it to both sides of the equation. So if I use a different color, so we've got Y plus A. So we're going to add A to both sides, yeah? That's the inverse operation. So we're going to have Y plus A and it equals 3W, because remember minus A plus A is 0. Yeah. So we've got Y plus A equals 3W, and then we still have to get W by itself, so we can get rid of that 3. Now we're multiplying the W with that 3. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I want to divide both sides by 3. Now, this is one part which I really do want to point out. If we're doing multiplication or division on both sides of an equal sign, make sure you divide everything on those sides by that number, or multiply everything on both sides. So on the left hand side, we've got Y plus A. We're going to do the whole thing divided by 3. So Y plus A divided by 3, all of it, equals 3W divided by 3, which is just W, and that would be making W the subject of the formula. We've got W by itself, and then we've got everything else on the other side of the equal sign. Now, if we have a go at the next one, L equals M over B, I want to get M by itself, so I want to have M equal something. Now, the only thing stopping me from getting to that is this B. So I want to move this B. Now, if I'm dividing on one side, to do the inverse operation, I need to multiply. So I need to multiply B on both sides. So I'm going to multiply B on the left and multiply B on the right. So we've got L times B, which is just LB or BL. And then on the right hand side, we've got M, because dividing by B and multiplying by B, doing the inverse operation gets rid of that letter. So we've just made M the subject of the formula. Now, because of time, and I know that some of you are really enthusiastic about getting to the quiz, I'm going to go through this last one with you. So we want to make V the subject of the formula. Now, we're going to treat it just like the first example and the second example put together. Yeah, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this 1. Because we're adding 1, we can easily get rid of it just by subtracting 1 on both sides. So if I subtract on the left and subtract on the right, so t minus 1 will be on the left hand side, and then 1 minus 1 is 0. So we're just left with v divided by 4, or v over 4 on the right hand side. Now, I want to make v the subject, so I need to have v by itself. I need to isolate it. So I need to get rid of that 4. Now, I'm dividing by 4 on the right hand side, which means that I need to do the inverse. I need to multiply by 4 on both sides. Now remember, if I'm multiplying or dividing on both sides, I have to do everything on that side, multiplied or divided by that number. So it's going to be t minus 1 all multiplied by 4. And then on the right hand side, we're left with v. Now, you can leave your answer like this, but a better way to leave it is 4 brackets t minus 1, because that's exactly the same thing. It just looks a little bit neater and it's written in more of an algebraic way. So we've got 4 times t minus 1 equals v, and that's how we would make v the subject of the formula. So hopefully rearranging makes sense. Someone asked about BidMaths. Some people use BidMaths, others use, I think you meant BODMAS. You said BIDMAS twice, but yeah, some people say BIDMAS, some people say BODMAS. In different countries, they also use like PODMAS and stuff like that. It's exactly the same thing. Brackets comes first, then it's your indices, so your powers, then it's division, multiplication, addition and subtraction. Oh, I just read it. BIMDAS and BIDMAS. It doesn't matter. Division and multiplication, you can interchange them. Yeah, it's not a complete strict rule. Just make sure that the other letters are in the right order. Right, if you're not too sure, someone asked, will the lessons be on every day, the same time? Yes, it will be at 12 o'clock every day, Monday to Friday. And someone else said they weren't too sure on the work and they were a bit confused. That's absolutely fine. And just because of time, I can't go over everything again. But what I would say is when it's back on YouTube, have a look, try and rewatch it again, and we will go through a recap tomorrow at 12 as well. I will recap previous sessions the next day just to make sure that we all understand it. Right. Just before we do the quiz, I just like to go through some common mistakes. So a lot of students tend to mistake adding. When you're simplifying expressions, x plus x squared, you can add them together and simplify it. You can't. If it has a separate or a different power, you can't add them. They're two different terms. Now, some people forget to simplify the expression after expanding the brackets. Always remember to simplify if they ask you to, because it is part of the question. So make sure you read the question and you maybe underline it to make sure you don't forget parts. And always remember to do the inverse operation and rearranging. So if you're adding on one side, you want to subtract on both. If you're multiplying, you want to divide. Right. I think it's time for a quiz before we end. So here is the pin. I like everyone. Hopefully everyone can sort of join. I'll wait a few minutes for everyone to sort of try and get in. I won't lock the session as well. So if I start it and you haven't been able to get in yet, then you still will be able to throughout the quiz, just in case you're having internet problems. And I'll wait a few seconds for you to do that. You don't have to leave the Zoom call. I would say don't leave the Zoom call because otherwise you won't be able to see the questions. So if you can, maybe open up a new tab on your internet browser, or maybe use your phone, or if you have a tablet, use a tablet, but you can only see the questions from the Zoom. So make sure you don't close the Zoom. Someone asked, did topics come up in non-calculator paper? Yes. They can come up in the non-calculator paper or the calculator paper. So I would say when you're practicing questions, try not to use a calculator, just so you know how to do it anyways. Okay. Right, cool. I'm going to start the quiz soon, so I'll wait a little bit longer as I can see quite a few more people are coming in. Right, let's start it. You can still access it with the pin. The pin will be at the bottom of the screen if you haven't started yet. Right, expressions and formulae, GCSE. Right, true or false? The following is an expression. Is this an expression or is it a term? What do you think? Brilliant, false. It is false. Let's have a look. This is a term. It doesn't have 3x squared plus 5 or 3x squared minus 17y or anything like that. It's just a singular term. It's just got 3x squared. There's no additional subtraction in it. So well done, everyone who got that one. Well done for the top 5 as well. Right, simplify the following. So don't rush, you've got a minute to simplify it. Have a go. And also, guys, if you do still have questions as well, just put it in the Q&A, because I'll try to check it as I'm going through the quiz as well. Brilliant. Yes, it is P plus Q plus 7. So if we quickly look, so we've got 2 terms with a P, 2 terms with a Q, and 2 numbers. So 5P minus 4P is P, minus 3Q plus 4Q is Q, and 2 plus 5 is 7. So well done, everyone, for that one. Well done for the top 5. Right, simplify 3x plus 4x squared minus 5y minus 2x. Right, brilliant. Yep, so we've only got one term with an x squared, so we can't simplify that. One term with a y, can't simplify that. But 3x minus 2x is x. So well done. Well done. So simplify this. X squared plus x squared plus x squared. Right, so there are a few questions. That some people are asking. Someone asks, is BidMaths used all the time? Yes, BidMaths is something that you should use all the time in maths. It always applies. It never changes. Some other people were asking about past paper exams or practice questions. Brilliant. So, oops. Right, let's have a look at this one first before I answer that question. X squared plus x squared plus x squared. Now, you can only add powers when you're multiplying. So if it was x squared times x squared times x squared, then it would be x to the power of 6, because 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. But because we're adding each of these terms, we're not multiplying them. We've got 1x squared plus another x squared plus another x squared. So we have 3x squareds. So well done for those guys who did get that. Brilliant. Have a go at this one. What is y to the power of 3 times y to the power of 12? So now we are multiplying. What do you think about this one? Right. The other question that someone asked about practice papers, there are a few websites like Maths Genie, I think Physics and Maths Tutor. I'll come up with a few more. There's a few more websites. Right, perfect. This time we're multiplying with y's. So y to the power of 3 times y to the power of 12, add 12 and 3, we get 15. So brilliant. So well done for the top 5. Right. True or false? N to the power of 5 times n to the power of minus 2 is equal to n to the power of 7. Yeah, there are a few websites for practice questions. I would suggest just type in GCSE Maths practice questions or past papers, and you'll see a range of websites with loads of material. But we'll go through that on Friday as well. Right, false. 5, because we're multiplying the ends, 5 plus minus 2 is 5 minus 2, which is 3. So it should be n to the power of 3. That would be the correct answer. Right, simplify this. So 25m squared times 4m. Have a go at this one. Any good maths YouTube channels? I haven't really watched a lot of maths YouTube channels, but one channel which does a lot of really good maths videos is Khan Academy. If you haven't heard of that one, definitely go and look at that one. It's really good. If you go on the website as well, I know Khan Academy is on YouTube, but if you go on the website for Khan Academy as well, it's they have multiple choice questions as you're watching the video, so you can test your ability and how much you understand it as well doing those. But again, any sort of like revision, exam techniques and stuff like that, we will definitely go through on Friday, because I know a lot of you have a lot of questions for it as well. Right, let's see. So brilliant. So remember, if you have numbers in front of the letters, you do 25 times 4 first. 25 times 4 is 100, and then you do m squared times m. Now remember, m has like an imaginary to the power of 1 on it, so it'd be 2 plus 1. So we've got m cubed. Brilliant. Right, number 8. This one's worth double the points. So expand and simplify the following. Right, you have a minute to answer this one. So have a go. Okay, so someone asked to spell the YouTube channel name. So it's MyTutor. I'm not too sure what the... So if you type in MyTutor maths and then the name of this maths lesson, it should come up. Have a look at it tomorrow. Just type in MyTutor to YouTube and you should be able to find it. Someone asked, can I get a 9 if I start now? I'm guessing that's if you start revising now. Probably. I mean, to be fair, it's not a guarantee. The length of tuition, obviously the length of revision, the longer you revise, the more likely it is for you to get a better grade, but it's also how you revise. So it's all good and well reading through your notes over and over again, but you still might not understand it. You might not know how to apply your answers, and really to get a 9, you need to be able to understand everything fully and be able to apply your knowledge to answer questions really well. So I would say focus on understanding and practicing. Understanding is key. Someone asks, is 9 the same as an A star? Pretty much, yeah. 9 is the highest grade, so it's a little bit more like an 8 is like an A star, and 9 is like a little bit higher than an A star. So yeah, you could say A star, I guess. Right, perfect. Expand and simplify. So let's have a look. So 2 times 3x plus 1. So 2 times 3 is 6. So you've got 6x plus 2. Then you've got minus 5 times 2x minus 3. So minus 10x. And then minus 5 times minus 3 is plus 15. And then you simplify it and you should get minus 4x plus 17. Brilliant. Right. Find the perimeter when L is equal to 8 and W is equal to 4. This one's a substitution question. Yep, 4 is a pass. 4 is a pass. I've seen your question 6 times now. Yep, 4 is a pass. Don't worry about that. Yes, if you're in year 10, you're going over GCSE topics now, it will definitely help. The reason why is because if you're starting now, you're more likely to understand it. The only thing that I would say is make sure you remember, because remember your GCSE is at the end of year 11. So make sure you're going through it and you're remembering it as well. Brilliant. Right, substitution. L is 8, so it's just 2 times 8, and then W is 4, so 2 times 4, you add them together and you will get 24. So second to last question, we're nearly done. This one's worth double the points. Factorize fully 2W squared Y plus 4W. Someone's asked this question like 10 times. In terms of resets, if you fail the year, to be fair, I'm not entirely sure, because obviously there's a bit of a, I guess there's a bit of a doubt when it comes to GCSE exams. But yeah, if you fail it this year, you definitely will get the opportunity to resit it. But whether you can resit it in November or whether you can resit it the next year, I'm not entirely sure. That is a question to ask your teacher at school. But you will always have the opportunity to retake your GCSEs if you fail it. So don't think that if you fail it, it's the end of the world. You can retake it. And there are a lot of people who have retaken it more than once as well. Right. Right, we've got around 30 seconds left. Sorry, we've gone over time a little bit, but there is only one more question as well. So thank you for sticking around. Can you take resits if you pass? I think so. I'm sure you can resit the GCSE if you do pass. Whether you have to pay for the resit or not, I'm not too sure. So again, that is another question to ask your teacher, because I know if you fail it, you usually get to resit it again, but you don't have to pay for it. But if you have passed it and then you retake it, I'm not too sure. Right, anyone who has mocks in November, I would say definitely start revising throughout your half term. Use this time, and that doesn't mean just cram everything in or spend 12 hours a day revising. It just means go over the things which you find a bit difficult, make sure you're practicing the questions and you're understanding it. Right, brilliant. Well done, everyone who got this one right. So W is common in both, 2 is common in both. Take that outside of the brackets and then check by expanding. Right, last question. Make X the subject. So remember to do the inverse operation to make X the subject. And then the quiz will be done. Right, if you want to have to retake, if you do want to retake, do you have to take the whole year? I don't think so. I don't think it's in the topic of resit. I'm not entirely sure. So definitely ask your teachers these questions, because I don't want to give you the wrong information. Is uni hard? Yes, uni is difficult. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, it's challenging. But also it depends on the subject that you take as well, and if you enjoy it. because even though maths at university is difficult, if you enjoy challenging yourself, you won't find it impossible. You'll sort of enjoy it as well. What grade did I get for GCSE and A-level maths? Both of them I got A stars. And I don't know whether any of you are taking further maths GCSE as well. There is something called further maths GCSE. I also took that as well, but I didn't take further maths at A level. Right, so got 128 answers for this one. Any more answers for making X the subject? This is the last question, last chance to move up the leaderboard. What is the hardest topic in maths? It depends on the person. A lot of people think algebra is the hardest. Some people think trigonometry is the hardest. Some people think vectors. If you're doing higher GCSE, vectors might be the hardest one you find. That's usually popular. Right, brilliant. So to do this one, we're going to move y first, so add y to both sides, and then we're left with 3x on the right-hand side. So to do the inverse of multiplying by 3, we divide by 3. So well done, everyone, for taking part. So let's quickly have a look at the podium. Third place, we've got Kashyap. Second place, we've got Tanya. And first place, we've got Mariah. I hope I said all of your names correctly as well. And runners up, Zoe and Hashish. So well done, everyone, for participating. I hope you guys enjoyed today's session. And tomorrow at 12, we will be doing linear equations and simultaneous equations. So make sure to turn up at 12 for that one as well. We will also go through a recap of today's session as well. So I hope you guys have a really good, it is the same link tomorrow as well, by the way, but you can access it through the same way that you accessed it today. So I hope you guys have a good rest of the day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.